Was God ever lonely? Hello, friends. Bishop Tom Dowd here with another video of Catholic teaching in 10 minutes or less. And this question, was God ever lonely, was asked of me by, as you can guess, little kids when I do teachings in schools and I teach on various subjects. They don't shy from asking questions that just sort of surge from their hearts. I was teaching them once about how God created the universe. And in a recent video, I mentioned how God doesn't simply give existence, but he also invites us to participate in that creation. We are beings created with intelligence and free will. And so one of the kids, was looking at me and thinking, you could see the wheels turning in the kid's head. Realized, if God created us, then that means there was a time when we didn't exist. And so the little one wanted to know, does that mean that before we were created, God was lonely? Because obviously, if there's only one God, and prior to us, the angels too, being created, well, then there's only God. So is it possible that God was ever lonely? I love the questions from kids because they're thinking and they're trying to puzzle it out. And again, it's just a question that surges forth. Well, the short answer is no. God was never lonely. But why that is, well, the question opened up an opportunity for me to teach the children about a really, really important doctrine in the Christian faith, certainly in the Catholic Church. That is the teaching of the Trinity. It's true, we believe there is only one God, but that God exists in three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Now, these kids went to a Catholic school, so they were used to being taught how to make the sign of the cross. And the gesture of the sign of the cross is accompanied by a phrase, the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So they'd heard the Trinity, they'd heard the phrase related to the Trinity, but the idea that Father, Son, Spirit, three persons, one God, well, you can imagine for the kids and for a lot of people, it's an expression that's difficult to understand. They sort of go, how can you have three persons and yet there is only one God? Throughout history, we've had different analogies to try and explain this. In my very first video in this series all about God, I mentioned the idea that God is a mystery. Doesn't mean God is unknowable, but it means that there's always something new to learn. God is ever knowable. And because God is a mystery, God is beyond our ability to entirely comprehend all at once, we will grow in our knowledge and will often have to use analogies to express truths about God. So for this video, I'd like to share with you an analogy that I used with the kids to try and explain how God is one God and three people. And so basically, I tried to say, or I explained, that God is like a family where you have a parent, mom or dad, you have a son, a boy in the family, and you have a girl in the family. So there's one family, but three persons in that family. All three are part of that family. All three carry this reality of familyness in them. And yet they're different from each other. The parent is the source for the boy and the girl. So the relationship is from parent to the boy. That boy is called the son of the parent. While the relationship between the parent and the girl is called the daughter. So you can distinguish the kids, not just through biological reality, but you can describe it in their relations. The relationship, there's different terms to express it. while for each of the kids, it's mom or dad, whatever the title is being given to the parent. Now, for the kids themselves with each other, well, for the girl, the boy is the brother, while for the boy, the girl is the sister. They're siblings, but they're not generic siblings. There are specific terms to differentiate, to describe who they are with each other. And so the idea in the Trinity is that there is one God. There are three divine persons within God. Because these divine persons are spirit, you don't have material differences to be able to distinguish them. So here we have biological differences, we have, age differences. It's easier when you're looking at material beings. For purely spiritual beings, how do you distinguish them? Well, we distinguish them by their relations. So that's why we say God is relational in his very nature. God as a Trinity, you have the Father, who's the parent in this analogy. You have the Son of God, and you also have the Spirit of God. Now, obviously, Father and Son, those are gendered terms. They are drawn from the world of biology and of human relations. The term Holy Spirit is more generic. I'm using the analogy of a girl here simply to show the contrast. I'm not saying the Holy Spirit is actually a girl, just like I'm not saying that the Father in heaven is actually biologically a male. These are relational terms that have come to us from our tradition and are used to try and explain how the three persons of the Trinity can be distinguished from each other when in fact they are spirit. So as spirit without the material difference, we use the context of their relations in order to be able to describe them and to describe their difference with each other. Now, one family, three persons in the family, distinguished from each other. What is it that prevents this family known as God from splitting apart? Like sometimes people wonder, they'll say, oh, come on, Bishop, three persons in one God, we can count 1 + 1 + 1. You're saying each of them is fully divine, fully shares in that divine nature. It sounds like you've got three gods, not one. The unity of the three persons is therefore a really essential idea. What is it that keeps a family together? Fundamentally, apart from all the legal requirements and all that sort of thing, fundamentally, the unity of a family is rooted in love. That's what keeps people united with each other. When that love breaks down, that's when the family breaks down. God is love. We've seen in a previous video, God is actually made out of love. It's that love that gives rise to the Trinity in the first place. And so God is a family of persons united in a perfect love that actually is their very nature and substance. And so they cannot split apart. It would be logically impossible for God to subdivide into three distinct, separate gods. So you definitely have three persons in God, but it's still one, thanks to the uniting power of love. Now you can see why the image of the family is so important for us as Catholics to understand the world, to understand our relations with each other, even all of society. It's not a perfect analogy. There is no perfect analogy. But I'll tell you, for kids in elementary school, all of whom have families, all of whom know sometimes that their families have challenges, the idea of discovering that God is a family united in perfect love, that appeals to them, and I hope it appeals to all of you. God bless all of you.